Hello students, I am VLN Swarupini, lecturer in biochemistry from Sri Venkateswara College of Arts and Science, which is affiliated to Adikavi Nannaya University, Rajahmundry. Now, I would like to discuss about first BSc second semester biochemistry paper, that is analytical techniques. So, in the previously we have discussed syllabus regarding this paper. So now once again revise the syllabus. Let's see what are the contents we are going to learn in this semester and start the topic. So we have analytical techniques as our biochemistry paper for your second sem, and in this paper we'll see about biophysical concepts and cell disruption methods in the unit 1. So in this unit 1 we'll see about water as biological solvent as a first topic, and later we'll see about buffers and measurement of pH, different types of electrodes and biological relevance of pH and pKa values, electric conductivity, analysis of drinking water and pond water. Basically in this unit we have got new topics for biochemistry, that is analysis of drinking water and pond water is a new topic which was added to the syllabus, and also total dissolved salts, BOD, COD, soil analysis. These are all the new topics that we are going to explore in this paper. Okay, and apart from this, under cell disruption methods we have tissue homogenization methods. Okay, so these are the overall topics that we are going to see in the unit 1, and in unit 2 we'll see about microscopy and centrifugation. So you all know about microscopy, and you are aware of using a normal compound microscope for observing different kinds of materials. So here we'll see how a microscope will work and how many kinds of how many different types of microscopes are present. So in the syllabus we have topics related to light microscopy, phase contrast microscopy, electron microscope, and also fluorescent microscope. We'll see how these microscopes will work, and we'll also see about their applications. Okay, and apart from microscopy we'll also see about centrifugation techniques. So centrifugation, we have different kinds of centrifugations like differential centrifugation, density gradient centrifugation, and finally ultracentrifugation. So with these we'll complete the unit 2. And the unit 3 we have chromatography techniques. We have chromatography techniques, and in this chromatography techniques we have different kinds of chromatography techniques like paper chromatography, thin layer chromatography, gel filtration chromatography, ion exchange chromatography, affinity chromatography. We'll see about these types of chromatography techniques in detail, how we can carry these chromatography techniques, what is the mechanism, what is the procedure, and what are the applications related to these particular chromatography techniques. Okay, so third unit is completely depending on the chromatography techniques only, and next we'll have unit 4 in which we'll see about spectroscopy and tracer techniques. So here tracer techniques means nothing but we study about radioisotopes. Okay, we study about radioisotopes and units of this radioactivity. And one of the important character which is related to radioisotopes is half-life. And few radioisotopes emit beta rays and few radioisotopes emit gamma rays. So we'll see about beta and gamma emitters, and also we'll see radioactivity applications. That means how radioactive isotopes are utilized in biology for different purposes. Okay, so radioactive isotopes are also helpful in wide variety of applications. So we'll see those applications, and mostly the applications related to biology, that means mostly in the medical field and in the study of plants. So these sort of applications we can study under this category. And this is about tracer techniques. And coming to spectroscopy, we have Beer-Lambert's law, and this Beer-Lambert's law is the base for spectroscopy. Calorimeter or spectrophotometer or fluorimeter, everything will work on this Beer-Lambert's law. So we'll see what is Beer-Lambert's law, and along with this law, we'll see how a calorimeter will work, what are the applications, how a spectrophotometer will work, and what are the applications of the spectrophotometer, and spectrofluorimeter or we can also call it as spectrofluorimetry. So this particular technique is also we can also study. And additional topic which is added to this year's syllabus is flame photometry. Okay, flame photometry. Till now we didn't have this topic in biochemistry. Now this was introduced in our syllabus, that is flame photometry. So these are the overall topics that we are going to see in the fourth unit. And the last unit, that is fifth unit, we have electrophoresis. So in this electrophoresis, simply we study about paper electrophoresis and polyacrylamide electrophoresis. Okay, so we simply call it as PAGE, polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. And again it is of two types. We have a native PAGE, and for protein separation we also carry SDS PAGE, that means sodium dodecyl sulfate polyacrylamide gel electrophoresis. So these are the two kinds of polyacrylamide electrophoretic techniques. And also we have agarose gel electrophoresis. So this agarose gel electrophoresis is a basic electrophoretic technique. This is most widely used in biotechnology and biochemistry fields. Okay, for any genetic engineering or any methods, for any method, this agarose gel electrophoresis is the initial step for many experiments and for many analysis. Okay, and apart from this we also have a immunoelectrophoresis in this unit. So these are the topics that we'll see in the unit 5. So this is the overall syllabus that we are going to study in this semester. So as we discussed about the syllabus, now let's move on to the unit 1 topic. Unit 1 topic, that is water as biological solvent or water as biological medium. Okay, so follow the class properly. So we all know how important water is for our survival, and we cannot imagine our life without water. Okay, even if we don't have food, we can survive for a few days by using this water. And if you take our life has originated in aquatic medium. So aquatic medium is essential for the life production of any life. So here we all know 70% of the water, earth surface is covered with water and all. So I think there is no need of giving this introduction. Here we know how important water is to our body, and also this matter of water is present in many forms like oceans or glaciers, rivers, lakes, ponds and all. Okay, so India in India also we have plenty of water resources. And if you see, on earth we have around 70% of the water cover. That means if you take earth surface, only 70% here, overall 70% is covered with water, and that remaining 29% only, uh, other land area, forest area and human dwelling area is present. Okay, so we all know water is very essential. And here water is not only essential for our biological systems, we also have many purposes regarding this water. So here water is essential for every industry. Okay, water is a base for every industry or any development. So if you take agriculture, it is completely dependent on water. And also if you take any industry, food making industry or pharmaceutical industries or any industry, they also require water. And for production of electricity also there is requirement of water. So we have many applications regarding this water. Okay, and here apart from these applications, many organisms survive in water. Okay, few organisms survive in saline water, that means in oceans and in seas, and few organisms they survive in uh, fresh water like rivers, ponds and lakes. So this water supports life also. It gives some space for the survival of many organisms. Okay, and here if you take any cell which is a single unit of the organism, all the cells contain around 85% of the water. Okay, so here water is essential for everything. Even cells are made up of aquatic condition. Okay, so cell which contains minimum of 85% of water. Okay, so if you take our body, how water is helpful? So in the organization of the cells. Okay, cells contain water, and also water is essential for the transportation of nutrients and minerals in our body. Transportation of nutrients and minerals in our body. Okay. In the same manner, water is also helpful in the other mechanisms like for elimination of toxic materials from our body. Okay, so water is the major base for the elimination of waste material, and this water is also required for the digestion of food. So whatever the food we are taking, that food digestion is also dependent on the water. Okay, so if you see the general properties of water, Water is a simple molecule and it is fundamental to life. That means life is based on the water. Okay, so it is a simple molecule. So simple molecule means here water means H2O. So two molecules of hydrogen and one molecule of oxygen are combined to form this water. So this is the this is a fundamental to life. And in active cells, two-thirds or often more of the area is occupied by water. That means, as I said earlier, around 85% of the cell is water content. Okay, and in our body we have many number of cells. We have millions and millions of cells in our body. So each and every cell contains around 85% of water. Okay, and this is found naturally in all three states. That means in solid form means ice, in liquid form, and in the gas form means water vapor. And it contains high melting and boiling points. It has high melting and boiling points. And water is also very good at ionizing substances and it acts as good solvent. So here this is a best solvent. If you add salt or sugar, any substance we add to water, it will easily dissolve. Okay, so if you see the biological importance, biological importance, let's see what are the important applications or functions of water in our body. So water acts as major cell constituent. Okay, so in most organisms, that means an individual organism, if you take a human body, in human body around 60 to 90% of the body is made up of water. So don't get confused by the cell made up of 85% water. So here we are speaking about the total body. So total body is made up of around 60 to 90% of water. And here the lowest water content can be found in plant seeds and the highest in jellyfish. So if we take different organisms and different compounds in the nature, plant seeds contain less amount of water and jellyfish contains highest amount of water. And in cell, water is found mainly in the protoplasm and here it plays vital role in metabolism. So here protoplasm. So whatever the protoplasm is present, it contains this water content. Okay, and here this water which is present in the protoplasm is helpful in the metabolism of that particular cell. So metabolism means it will help the cell to move the ions or nutrients, whatever the compounds that are present in the cell. Okay, so this is the first major function. What it is? Water as major cell constituent. So 85% of the cell is water, and if you take an individual organism, depending upon the organism, 60 to 90% of the organism will be water content. So these are the two major points that you should remember. Okay, and next application, water as a solvent. So we know water is a best solvent. So here H2O, that means two hydrogen molecules and one oxygen molecules. This is one of the hydrogen molecule, this is the second, and this is the oxygen molecule. So oxygen is a negatively charged ion. That means oxygen is electronegative in nature, whereas hydrogen is electropositive. So there will be polarity between these oxygen and hydrogen molecules. So as this is a negative and these are positive, there will be some affinity between the molecules, and we call it as polar. Why? Because it is carrying both negatively charged molecule and positively charged molecule, and these atoms are covalently bound together, in which we see electronegatively charged, or oxygen which is electronegative, which exhibits electronegativity, and hydrogen which exhibits electropositivity. Okay, so here whatever the hydrogen atom of water molecules, these are weakly bound to the oxygen atom. So these are weakly bound to the oxygen atom in adjacent water molecule, and these weak bonds are called as hydrogen bonds. So these hydrogen bonds, hope you remembered about these hydrogen bonds in the previous semester while discussing about the protein structures, forces stabilizing protein structure. While discussing this topic, we discussed about different kinds of bonds and also this hydrogen bond. The same hydrogen bond is responsible for the bonding of this hydrogen molecule or hydrogen atom to the oxygen atom. So because of this hydrogen bond presence only, we see high melting and boiling points to water. Okay, and we also consider this water as universal solvent. Okay, we don't just consider it as a solvent, we also mention it as universal solvent. So whatever the food we consume through our diet, this will be mixed with aqueous content, and it will be transported to different cells and different tissues in our body. So here, so whatever the solids that we take through our diet, these are soluble in the water, and they'll be transported to different cells and tissues. That means after eating the food, what happens? Food will be digested, and during this process, this digestion process is completely carried in the aqueous medium only. Okay, and it helps in removal of metabolic waste products in the form of urine and sweat. So we all know waste or the toxic materials are eliminated through urine and sweat, and here we know urine and sweat are liquid states. So here water will take waste or metabolic waste products through urine and also through sweat, and this water is also helpful in the respiration. For respiration also, this particular water is helpful. So how this water is helpful in respiration? It donates oxygen, and also it supply oxygen from heart to tissues, and intake of CO2 from tissues to heart via blood. Okay, so what is blood here? Blood is a fluid connective tissue. It is a fluid connective tissue, and by this fluid connective tissue, O2 and CO2 are transported from heart to tissues, tissues to heart. That means oxygen is transported from heart to tissues, and from tissues to uh, lungs. This CO2 is carried, and CO2 is eliminated through exhalation, and O2 will take again through inhalation, and this O2 is transported to heart, and from heart to tissues through this fluid connective tissue, that is blood, and also helps in gas exchange. In aquatic habitat, oxygen is dissolved in water, which is taken by aquatic organisms. So if you take a small pond as an example, so whatever the organisms like fishes, prawns, and other kind of aquatic organisms which are present in that pond, they get oxygen through water only. And water, the oxygen which is present in the water, we call it as dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen which is present in the water will be utilized by the aquatic animals. Okay, these aquatic animals, they utilize the oxygen which is present in the form of DO, that is dissolved oxygen in the pond. Okay, so here the major concept that will be carried is gas exchange. So water will be taken from the water, sorry, oxygen will be taken from the water by the organism, and CO2 will be released. So this is about this water as universal solvent. And water in the process of transport, water in the process of transport. So the same concept that we have discussed earlier. So transportation of food, hormones, oxygen and waste products will be carried through blood in humans. In the same manner, in plants also what happens is sap is used to transport food and other substances, and this is similar to the transportation of food, hormones, oxygen and waste products in humans through blood. So here sap will act as the transporter, and this sap is also a source of liquid or aqueous medium. Okay, this will transport food materials and other substances essential for the plant growth and development. So here in both the aspects, whatever the blood and sap which are responsible for the transportation of these products in organisms and in plants, these are mainly of water sources. Okay, so next one, water as a reactant. So water as a reactant. For understanding this water as reactant concept, we should take photosynthesis. So here, if you see the equation of photosynthesis, H2O plus CO2 will be combined to form C6H12O6, which is a glucose molecule. So here H2O, nothing but water will combine with carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight, and this glucose C6H12O6 will be produced along with the liberation of oxygen. So in plants what happens? Glucose will be produced from the reaction of oxygen, water and carbon dioxide, and during the reaction what happens? Glucose molecules along with O2 will be produced, and oxygen which is produced during this level is released into the atmosphere, which we humans take through our respiration. Okay, so this is the important example. That means here this water is also acting as a reactant. Okay, another one example is condensation. During the conversion of glucose to starch, water is released. So it is a condensation reaction, in which glucose is converted into starch, and during this water molecule is released. And hydrolysis during digestion, water requires like conversion during digestion of sorry hydrolysis is carried during digestion, and as a result of this starch is converted into glucose. Okay, so reverse reaction for the condensation. So in condensation glucose is converted into starch, and in hydrolysis reaction what happens, starch is converted into glucose. So in all these kinds of reactions water plays an important role. Okay, water plays an important role. And the next important application is water as a mechanism of support. Water as a mechanism of support. So we have n number of aquatic organisms. Okay, and few organisms are strong, like if you take a big fish or dolphins or seals. So these are all aquatic animals which are uh, huge in their body organization. Okay. And at the same time we have small fishes and small flora and fauna, and these are weaker in their body. So they should not get effect from the water. That means when they are living in the aquatic medium, what happens, if you take ocean or sea, there will be huge tidal effect. That means there will be formation of waves, and these waves should not damage the weaker aquatic animals. Okay, so aquatic organisms have weaker skeletons than organisms living on land. Okay, as the water's buoyancy effect makes them lighter, thus give them extra support. So water's buoyancy effect will make them light, so that's why they are free in the aquatic medium. Okay, and the next important application is water as lubricant. Okay, so we all know we have cerebrospinal fluid in the brain to protect the brain, and synovial fluid to protect the joints, and pleural fluid to protect the lungs. So these are all sources of water. So here just water in the form of this synovial fluid, cerebrospinal fluid, pleural fluid, it gives protection to those organisms, so organs. So here if you take cerebrospinal fluid, it protects brain from the any uh, shocks or any smaller injuries. Injuries means if we got any hit, what happens, for smaller effects we don't have any effect on the brain. If we have a great accident, then only we'll get uh, effect on the brain. So in the same manner synovial fluid, this will create lubricancy in the joints. Okay, and apart from this, pleural fluid which is present in the lungs also gives protection for this lungs, and also aqueous and vitreous humor which is present in the eyes will give lubricancy. And this aqueous and vitreous humor, what it will do additionally is it will clean eyes from the dust particles continuously. In the same manner, amniotic fluid which is present in the fetus of a pregnant woman. This will provide lubricancy to the fetus so that the fetus can move freely, and uh, there will be protection from the outer environment to this fetus. In the same manner, we have mucus in our gut, and this mucus is helpful to create lubricancy and also to eliminate the uh, outer particles, that is like antigens. If any antigen enter our gut, this mucus will help our body to eliminate the antigen. And sometimes what happens, this antigen will be trapped at the mucus and it will not enter our stomach. So this is how water in different forms, it will create lubricancy in our body, creates lubricancy in our body. And next, water is also helpful in sexual reproduction like fishes. Okay, so whatever the aquatic animals or aquatic organisms are present, so external fertilization takes place in water. So external fertilization means uh, egg undergoes fertilization in water. So whatever the fishes are present, they release the eggs into the water and they get fertilized in the water itself. Okay, so here this is the one of the important application of aquatic animals. And also another important application is water as temperature controller. Water as temperature controller. So here water has a high specific heat capacity of around 4200 joules per kg degrees centigrade. Okay, so here, so the temperature of water is not not easily changed. Okay, so here whatever the water we have, its highest specific heat capacity is 4200 joules or 4200 joules. So as it is containing this specific heat, temperature of water is not so easily changed. Okay, so if you want to heat water, what happens, it takes some time to reach its boiling point. At the same time, if you want to cool that water, it will take some time to reach its it will take some time to reach its freezing point. Okay, so in the same manner, here a large mass of water such as ocean will heat up slowly during the day and cool slowly at night. So even not only a bowl of water that we are speaking here, if you take ocean water, here also what happens, it will slowly heat down and it will slowly cool down. So its temperature does not change so easily. So this provides an ideal habitat for marine organisms. So if you imagine water can reach its boiling point very easily, what happens, whatever the aquatic animals are dwelling or living in the aquatic region, they cannot survive there. Why? Because water will be at its boiling point. Okay, so because of this high specific heat capacity only, these animals are happily living in the aqueous medium. So here the high water content of cells give them insulation and protection from the rapid temperature changes. Okay, so this will help them to withstand the temperature changes. Okay, so water has habitat, we know, freshwater ecosystem, marine ecosystem, and survival of aquatic life in winters also is provided by this water. Okay, so this is about biological importance of this particular water. So apart from these biological applications, we also have properties of water. Properties of water, we have physical properties and we have chemical properties. Physical properties like density, buoyancy, wave and current, temperature, salinity, light and turbidity, color, etc. And coming to chemical properties, DO, that means dissolved oxygen, pH, hardness, alkalinity, and presence of CO2. So in this manner we have different kinds of physical and chemical properties. Okay, we'll discuss these physical and chemical properties in our next class. uh, if you have any doubts, please contact me. Here this is a simple topic, there is no need to worry about this topic. So we'll just simply write about the water, how it is helpful in our day-to-day life. It means mainly in a biological systems how this water is helpful and what are the properties of this water. So in the next class we will discuss about the properties of this water. Okay, so here if you see about, just let's few few points regarding this. So here the biological importance of water as solvent and as the medium for living organisms is very high, and water is possibly the most important substance of living. That means we depend on water for our survival, and 80% of the water is uh, with around, in a cell 80%, 85% of water is present, and around 60 to 90% of human body is made up of water, and transportation of molecules and chemicals is seen in the body, and dissolved oxygen is responsible for the survival of the aquatic animals in the water, and uh, in our body it will help transportation of materials and also transportation of oxygen also. So these are the important aspects, and also for elimination of waste material and toxic materials through sweat and urine is one of the major application of this water. Okay, so these are the major aspects related to this water. We'll see its properties in the next class. Thank you, students.